Alright, hey yo guys, what's up? I'm back with another what if. This is what if Deku was the same part 3 times 100. And before I get into it, I want to say I'm sorry that it took me literally 3 weeks to post again. But I explained it in a stream that I did last week. Basically I'm busy, alright? That's it. And it just kept on messing up on me. I think what was it? It took me like 4 attempts to do it. I don't know if this is my 4th or 5th time trying to do it, but yeah. Also, I just made a poll just now in the community tab, so vote that real quick, and yeah, let's just get right into it. So, where I left off was, Aizawa told the class to do like a little thing, or else he would expel him. And yeah, they finished that. So, this is continuing off of that. So, Aizawa goes around the corner and talks with All Might, and he says, those two are annoying, which All Might says back, yeah, but what do you think about Midoriya? And Aizawa tells him, it'd be easier to talk to him yourself, but what I see is a kid with huge amounts of power that I don't care about. So, yeah. And then he walks away. So, a few weeks go by as normal, just normal class. And then finally, All Might gets to teach the class. So, he walks in to the classroom, and everyone begins to fangirl except for Deku and Bakugo. Bakugo's used to All Might by now because, obviously. And Deku still isn't eye to eye with him. The thing is, he doesn't know how to feel about All Might yet, it is kind of awkward because they never did, meet up, in canon. But, yeah, so All Might explains what's gonna happen, and everyone is given their hero suits. So they all meet up at the fake city, and Deku is the last to come out, and I didn't know if I wanted to give him a new costume or not, but I'll just go with season 3 suit for now, which is probably the Gamma suit. I'm pretty sure it's called the Gamma suit. I don't know, but yeah. All Might, he draws out the teams, and they're all normal, but instead of Bakugo and Ida facing Deku and Uraraka, I wanted to make it Todoroki and Momo versus Deku and Uraraka. So Uraraka comes up behind Deku and says, "Oh wow, I guess we're together." And Deku says "Yeah, do you want to?" And then he turns around and he sees her costume, and shoot. She asks if something's wrong, and he says "No, it's fine." Then he gets hit in the back of the head by Momo, and he gets angry, shouting at her, demanding why she did that. But then he stops. And then, everyone, they just see, blood drop lands on the ground. And they get surprised that Momo managed to hit Deku that hard. But her face turns bright red and slaps him across the face so hard that he looks towards the classmates and they all know where the blood came from. So, they just got that little thing going on. But back to the battles. All of them are still, boring. Even the one with Bakugo is boring because he takes care of them easy. He takes care of the other team instantly. And Deku says in his head, while watching Bakugo, so even with All Might's power, you could still only use a small amount. Then he pulls out his notebook and begins writing. Because, bro, he still uses the notebook. Come on, he's smart. So a few more fights happen, and it's finally the main character's turn. So All Might tells Momo and Todoroki to go in the building because they're the villains. And on the way in, Deku sees ice breath coming from Todoroki's mouth. So before the time starts, Deku tells Uraraka about the other team's power and most likely strategy. And after he finishes talking, she asks, "Why don't you just beat them with one attack like how you did to the big robot?" I know it's a bit early, right? Don't get me wrong. It's only a few minutes into the episode, but shoot, man, I got a drink. I gotta get a drink. This time, I got iced sweet tea from McDonald's. They got the best sweet tea in the world, so you guys should order that real quick. And now, so Deku responds to her saying, "Well, the thing is that, that was a robot and not a person, and I don't know how strong these guys really are." So Uraraka kind of understands him, but what she's seen during the exams was like watching All Might fight a villain. So eventually All Might told them both to go in and the mission starts. So Deku, he kind of cheats a little and he senses like a key spike and then grabs Uraraka floating in the air. The entire building turned into ice the moment that they walked in. So she says thanks, and Deku just sets her back down, and they continue up towards the next floor. So Deku, he turns back to see Uraraka at the beginning of the hallway, and he asked if she needs help, which she says no, but he flies his way back, and the others like watching with All Might. They try and figure out like what they're doing as Deku puts his hand up and places it on his chest, and Uraraka does the same, and she begins to float. So they're both laughing, but there's no volume on the camera, so they can't hear like anything that they're saying. But she can't handle it for too long, so they need to like hurry. So she grabs onto Deku's shoulder, and they make their way to the villains. And I don't know. I'm trying to think. So yeah, I think All Might, he even shows that he has like a little regret in his eyes. And later they make it to the floor with the bomb, and Deku points at the door. And Uraraka nods, and then Deku, he kicks it down. So as soon as the door flies through the air, Todoroki attacks Deku head on in a large sheet of ice. And it kind of looks like the Mark 1 Iron Man suit. Yeah, so it does look like the Mark 1 Iron Man suit, but Deku didn't block in time and is launched through multiple rooms. And after it stops, he pushes over some debris and stands up to see Todoroki throwing another punch. But this time, he dodges it by crouching underneath it and throws his own punch, making it land in Todoroki's gut. So the punch broke away some of the armor and even knocked the wind out of him. So Deku was expecting it to end, thinking to himself, like, that armor boosted him in strength, but he's too slow to attack. Like, just like Super Saiyan Grade 3. That's how it is. But yeah, Todoroki reached out his hand and created ice that spread onto Deku's fist. And it stung him, like, with him noticing, like, the pain was getting stronger. And he yells in his head, like, is this dry ice? And he puts his other hand to it and melts the ice with, like, a heat of an energy ball. Just in time. And Todoroki, he quickly caught his breath again and mutters while coughing, "You and Bakio are showing to be a pain for me." And then he glares at Deku, and the ice around them gets more intense. So, going to the other ones though, Momo and Uraraka, they continue their fight. And no one really pays attention to it except for Mineta, of course. Like, shoot, I'd pay attention to it too, not gonna lie. But when Deku and Todoroki went off, Momo jumped in and started attacking her. And as the fight went on, both of them like have gotten used to the ice floor. And Uraraka's plan was to find an opening so she could touch Momo and make her float, which she already knew the plan. Like, Momo already knew the plan from the beginning, though, and the two of them just, like, dodge each other's attacks the entire time. So, like, Uraraka, like, she can touch the bomb, but she doesn't, because she promised Deku that she wouldn't unless there's, like, 10 seconds left. Which is fine. That's fine, because she knows that she can do it. But then they both, like, heard the ice crackling. Is that a word? I don't know. The ice crackling and the air is getting colder. So Momo tells Uraraka to stop fighting and says, like, what are they doing? And Uraraka says that she doesn't know, but then, like, ice spikes begin to form randomly all over the room. And then from across the building, they heard a scream from Deku. And as if it were a virus, the ice spread onto their legs and continued up. So Uraraka yelled out to Momo to make something so they could get free, but she wasn't fast enough. And back to the other fight, Deku bites down on his teeth as he breaks the ice spike that went through his leg and shouts, "What are you doing?" So Todoroki says nothing and lashes out at him. And Deku dodges it and is forced to like float above the floor because of how intense the ice is. And at that moment, he hears like a cry for help from another room. And over the intercoms, All Might shouts like, "Stop the fight and help your teammates now." So Deku feels like time has stopped moving, and he tries to head to them, like forgetting about his and Todoroki's fight instantly. And before he makes it out the room, like he gets grabbed by the hood and flung through another wall. And he gets up and like looks beyond ticked off right now. So Todoroki lashes out at him, and Deku dodges and shouts like, "The fight's over. We need to save them from your ice." Oh, all right, there we go. Yep. This angers Todoroki more, and he lifts his arm, making more ice spikes launch towards Deku. And, you know, being the GOAT, he blasts through all of them, and Todoroki shouts like, "Why are you here? I don't even know who you are, and you're already in my way." So Deku gets angrier as well, shouting like, "I'm here to be a hero. I don't care about the stupid fight anymore." So Todoroki's eyes widen, and he remembers all the pain Endeavor put him through. And then fire emits from his left side, and Deku looks a bit worried now, knowing that this has to end now. So Todoroki gets ready to attack again, melting away the ice armor he created, and Deku appears in front of him, quickly punching him as hard as he could in the gut, with the red aura around him vanishing away. And then Todoroki, he drops to the ground unconscious, and Deku instantly rushes to the girls. When he makes it, the ice has made it up to their shoulders, and he puts energy into his hands to defrost them both, just like he did to himself. So they fall to the ground with their breath being visible, and All Might lands in front of the building. The four of them were taken to the nurse, and Deku completely forgot that he had a hole in his leg since he was floating the entire time, and with all the adrenaline. So in the end, everyone had minor injuries, and Deku had to wear like a cast for like only a day, with Todoroki only being bandaged up, and the other two like in a bunch of blankets. So yeah, there's that. And the next day, they were all told that Todoroki was suspended for 2 weeks due to what happened the class before, which makes perfect sense. Like, come on, bro. But yeah, Aizawa told them all that they were still going to move on and go to the USJ, but everyone, they get excited for it and they go on the bus. So Froppy decided to ask Deku how it felt to fight Todoroki, and the question gathered everyone's attention, and he said like, "I didn't think he was that strong. Like, if he used his fire, then where I stand now, there would be no way I could have won, if I were to be completely honest." And Kirishima like instantly looks over the seat and says, "What are you on about, bro? Like, you knocked him out with one punch at the end." So Mina gets curious and asks like what that was about, and more and more of them, they wanted to know why too. And he finally says like, "All right, fine, I'll just show you when we get to USJ, all right?" So they're all right with that. And Momo says, "Well, you did end up beating him anyway, but All Might showed up, so you weren't needed at all." And Jiro even says like, "Come on, Momo, like that's a bit harsh, don't you think?" So Momo looks at her and points to Deku, saying like, "Did you really think I wanted to be saved by someone who had a nosebleed when he saw my costume?" So Deku's face, it turns red, and he told her to shut up, with everyone else laughing. So just it was like a good little moment for them. So eventually they do make it to the USJ, and Aizawa tells them to go in. So far everything goes the same. Like, All Might is still late because he's helping the public. But now because Deku can sense others' ki, he can sense like a huge amount of bad energy coming from all over the place, and he tells Aizawa about it, which he nods at Deku, telling 13 about it as well. So the class goes as planned, but then a large portal opens up in the middle of the area. Deku takes a step forward, but Aizawa holds out his arm and says, "These are real villains, and none of you guys have the experience yet to handle them." And he also like thanks Deku, like he nods at Deku. So Deku, he tries to say something back, but Aizawa already heads down and fights them all. And the fight actually, like, legit, the fight looks so sick as well. Like, you guys should rewatch it. I feel like, shoot, no, I guarantee no one remembers the fight because it was season one. But if you rewatched it, bro, oh, dude, Aizawa went ham. But yeah, 13 tells the class that they need to leave now, and they follow her. But Deku wants, like, he wants to help his teacher. But Ida tells him to hurry up, and he eventually does leave Aizawa to handle it. So they're nearly at the exit, but then Kirigiri pops up. With, Bakio and Kirishima, they both attack it. Hold on. Bakio and Kirishima both attack him, but it does nothing, and Kirigiri surrounds them all in a giant spear of a portal. And Deku tries to fight the harsh wind, but he isn't strong enough to do it, and is taken away by the portal. And when he opens his eyes, he realizes that he's underwater and says to himself, like, I can sense others' ki, or I can sense the others, so at least I'm not in an ocean, but I'm surrounded. And as he says that, a goon shows up rushing towards him, and he charges up 2 ki blasts in each hand, but Sue attacks him, like, attacks the villain, and grabs onto Deku, taking him to the boat. And she sets him down first, but then he flies to the side and says, like, thanks for that, but I could have just done that. And she tells him that she forgot, and they get back on the boat. So, but Mineta, of course, he begins to freak out, but Deku calms him down by laughing and says, why are you so scared when I'm the one that they should fear? Like, that's how it is. And Mineta, he's just intimidated. But then Sue says, that guy with the hands on his body said that he's planning to kill All Might. And Deku confirms it and thinks, like, like he's just thinking. Then he notices that they were sent around the USJ without the villains not knowing what their quirks were. So he asks what their quirks were, or what their quirks do, and they both tell him. So, like, Froppy, she could be a frog, and then Mineta, he has balls. Gee. Here, hold up. I gotta get another drink. Hold up. What time is it? It's 1:23. All right, I gotta post this at 3. So let's see how that goes. All right. So where was I at? Shoot, man, I'm not good at this. All right. Yeah. So they both tell him what their quirks do, and after that, he says, "I could just fly us away," but now that I think about it, I'm not the best with teamwork, so how about this? And then he puts his foot on the side of the boat and shouts "die," jumping off of it and blasts the Masenko towards the water. And it creates a giant whirlpool and sucks in the villains, but then Deku shouts to Froppy and Mineta. And she leaps off the boat with Mineta, and he starts to throw his balls at the villains, making them stick together and not able to move. So Deku flies his way to the other two and takes them away from the water area. So as they're flying, both Sue and Mineta like notice that Deku is getting faster. So she asks like what's wrong, but sees Deku like in a panic. So Mineta gets scared, like demanding what's wrong, and he looks at them both, says get to safety, throwing them both with all of his might. So they're sent flying towards the entrance and crash next to the others that were left behind. So Kirigiri just like vanished away, and they ran up to them both. And I'm gonna say like Sue tells them that Deku did it, which confuses them. But then they see like a bright beam being shot where Aizawa is. So going back to Deku, Aizawa's arms are both broken and is barely staying awake because he was just attacked by the Nomu. So Deku landed and got like the attention of the Nomu and Shigaraki, and he shouts, "Get away from my teacher!" and charges up a Kamehameha. So Shigaraki like rushes to him and puts out his hand, but nothing happens. And he says like, "You really are cool, Eraserhead." And the beam launches out to Shigaraki. So, and that was like point blank. Like he did the beam at point blank. But then, like, when the beam fades away into nothing, Deku's eyes, they widen. And the same monster that was destroying Aizawa was now in front of him. So Shigaraki laughs, and Deku remembers them talking about killing All Might. So fear starts to take over him for once. Like, fear starts to take over him. But then he grips his fist and charges up, shouting, "Kaioken!" So a red aura surrounds him, and he starts attacking the Nomu from all angles. He punches it in the gut, then falls back and launches himself back up for a drop kick. But nothing is working, and Shigaraki orders the Nomu to kill him. So Aizawa tries to use his quirk, but he's too weak to really affect anything. So Deku, with no other choice, he flies back and charges another attack. So he remembers to when he was training with Gohan back then, and Deku falls to his knees trying to catch his breath, and Gohan is astonished, saying, "You managed to make your own version of the Kaioken?" So Deku responds saying, "Yeah, but it's probably not as strong as the original since it was literally made by a Kai." But Gohan asks if like he knows any other techniques, and he nods, standing back up and gets in a stance. So back in the present, he shouts, "Gallic Gun!" and shoots out a purple beam which hits the Nomu head on, but it does nothing. And Deku says to himself, "I need more power." And then he shouts times 5. So the beam gets larger, but still isn't even enough to budge him. So Shigaraki orders to kill Deku again, causing Nomu to slowly walk through the beam. And Deku's muscles, like, they start to pulsate, and then he shouts times 10. So steam starts to come off the Nomu, but it still isn't enough. And Deku, like, he can't stand this level of pain, but has no choice, shouting times 20. And then the light of the beam, it fills the entire USJ, and tears of, like, pain come down Deku's eyes. And Aizawa mutters for him to stop, but the Nomu still isn't affected, only burning off a bit of its skin. So Deku's muscles, they begin to tear, and he shouts one more time, times 100! And then, the entrance of the USJ, it gets flown wide open, and All Might walks through. And Deku immediately stops, and falls to the ground, screaming at the top of his lungs in agony. So the small goons try and prepare themselves to face All Might, but they get dealt with in a blink of an eye. And he continues rushing down and sets Deku next to Aizawa. And Shigaraki, he gets back up from the punch that All Might landed on him and puts back on the hand that fell off, saying that he's sorry, Dad. But yeah, All Might, the angriest he's ever been, shouts Carolina Smash, aiming at Shigaraki, but the Nomu steps in to absorb the attack. So Shigaraki laughs, telling him there's no way to beat the almighty Nomu, and All Might begs to differ, and grabs the Nomu with a full Nelson, and tries to lift him up, and slamming into the ground. Yeah. Deku fights back the tears and begs for the pain to be over, but sees All Might in a bad situation. Like, Kirigiri made a portal that made the Nomu able to grab All Might without taking the attack. Man. Yeah, okay, I'll just show a picture, because it's hard to explain it. But yeah, the Nomu gripped onto All Might's side and making it bleed. And Deku remembers that that's where like his weak spot is. So he mutters like All Might and slowly lifts up his arm using his adrenaline to his advantage to fight the pain. So he forms a ki blast and shoots it, but Kirigiri appears in the way and makes a portal to shoot it back. So Deku prepares himself for the attack, but Kirishima shows up and blocks it. And Bakugo comes as well and blasts Kirigiri into the ground. So Kirishima asks Deku, like, what did you do? Because he sees, like, Deku's body just all torn up. And All Might finally uses the distraction to get him free. Ooh. But yeah, he uses it to get free since, you know, the Nomu's grip was damaged from Deku's attack. And he landed next to the others with Shigaraki like ordering the Nomu to stop messing around. And Kirigiri sets it free, and All Might got ready to fight again, but it started to regenerate, which made Shigaraki laugh, explaining that it has multiple quirks, and both All Might and the Nomu start to fist fight. And the shockwaves were so strong that everyone there was fighting to not get flown back, and Kirishima yelled for Bakugo to help him, so they both made sure that Aizawa and Deku were fine. And shoot, it was intense. Like, holy crap. All Might lands the finishing blow, and the three of 1A students were astonished by the top pro. So Deku's eyes were like beginning to close with his vision fading away, and he says, "This is the power I must surpass." But then he refuses to pass out and sees Shigaraki rushing at All Might. So Deku makes himself float and goes in without a clue for what he's doing, but Bakugo shows up beside him and a portal shows up with Shigaraki's hand coming out. And before it lands on them though, like a bullet goes through it and more pros start to show up. So Shigaraki and Kirigiri are forced to retreat, but he keeps in mind that the green-haired brat is one to keep an eye on. And, you know, everyone is getting treated by the pros, and Deku lies on the ground muttering to himself, I wasn't able to do anything. And Bakugo was about to shout at him, saying that he's right about that, but All Might says, young Midoriya, you did more than enough today. I thank you for trying to be a hero and save everyone, and for proving me wrong. And Bakugo yells at Deku that he's lying, but Deku's already unconscious. And Kirishima runs over to see if they're alright, but Cementos stops him and tells him to meet with the others for now. And later the police and investigators, they came and began questioning everyone. And once they got their answers, Mina asked about Aizawa, and they were told that him and Midoriya are both being treated to emergency care. So, which is like different. It's insanely different because inside canon, Deku only went to the nurse. He didn't have to go to the emergency hospital with Aizawa. But yeah. Momo muttered something under her breath, and Bakugo tightened his fist while looking at the USJ, thinking to himself, that damn nerd, always a pain in my ass. And now he thinks he's better than me? And that move he used, like, how long has he had this power? And yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it there. Holy crap! I actually did it. Let's go. Oh my god! For the love of God, please do not corrupt on me this time. Oh, I'm gonna be so upset if it does. But yeah, let me just finish it before it does. I feel like Deku would be smart enough to study the techniques he was shown in the memories of Gohan and make them his own, kind of like how he does in the actual story. Either way, I think it'll be cool if he did have the Dragon Ball moves. But yeah, still, let me know what you thought of the video, and have yourselves a good one. Peace out.